I'm Lindsay, you're watching History and Leisure, and unfortunately for this video, I tried to do mixing with both video and audio for like a webcam, but I did not record, so having to go back in again and redo this tier list video recording. So, this is for American Music Abroad, so I'm going to 10th anniversary special for it. But before we get into this list, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, strike the bell. I'm on Instagram, Threads, Bluesky, History_Leisure, as well as a Substack. Additional articles, type of stuff, and a roundtable news article. Also a second channel, History Leisure Extra posts copyright-free footage and bonus material. Into the list. First stop with this, I'm starting with Zurich, where we landed. Unfortunately, for Zurich, we really just stuck at the airport and then we drove out, so I don't really have any experience there, so gonna have to mark it as unrankable. Moving on to where we went for that first day is Engelberg, A tier. There is a monastery. It's also a terminus of a rail line. Being in there, you're in like a caldera, basically. Mountains are so high. Like the highest point there is called Mount Titlis. I think like obviously monastery, the monks there, like makes it funny. But we stayed at the Ramada. Up there was a pool in the basement. They had Alpenhorn festivals for that first dinner, and then breakfast in our convention center area. Very beautiful. Some touristy stuff, but like nice little park there in the center. Peak alpine beauty, if I do say so myself. Next morning, we crossed the border into Italy, with our first stop being Lake Como for lunch. Went to a restaurant, I had a whole giant pizza. I just still photo that, but unfortunately, I deleted all of my photos. Como maybe feels a little bit more touristy for me, but like it definitely is more a Mediterranean climate. But I still think it's decent city, and maybe with our timing there, it was maybe a slightly better time of year in terms of tourism. But then we went to Milan. Definitely like worst like 18 hours of my life in terms of travel, because it wasn't just like a travel day type thing. This was I actually was like putting this in F tier, even thinking about this doing into this video, but I ended up deciding on moving it to D tier because hey, we went the tour of La Scala. That was pretty nice. There was a library in the shopping center by the main cathedral there, and there's some beautiful to me. There is a bit of redemption there, but runs with the gypsies. Dinner was a mess. There was another group of like 12 people-ish sitting outside, and they were annoying the crew there at the restaurant. And so I didn't get the tiramisu dessert, but we met up with our tour escort and did some activities outside the B&B hotel. So then overslept a little bit the next day, so it was nice to leave. Like, I would only ever go back to Milan if I were to recreate this trip in some fashion. But for lunchtime, it was Forte dei Marmi. And also B tier has definitely some classic vibes. Maybe we'll go up to A tier if I actually visit the titular marble fort itself. But remember the sand being very hot and good vibes, starting gelato in these parts. Went straight to Pisa after. So I used the picture of the whole church complex next to that. No one really thinks that you just think of just the leaning tower itself. Probably was like some people like really posed with it. I'm like, I didn't really know that going in. So I didn't know going into like the vendors and stuff. They did talk about like bartering and stuff, and our main director wanted me to try and barter something from him, but the price was already right. So I'm like, I wasn't gonna do that. The area right around there is not very over touristy, definitely more like touristy. More touristy things, so with tourist range, but nice little town area. We had our tour bus had to park a little bit ways away, and then we had to walk over, and then they brought the buses a bit closer once we were done. Yeah, Asia, there's a reason why this is a very popular. Then the next morning we had Florence start at the Theme, I believe it's called, where the Statue of David is. That's where the original one is, and then all of other sculptures and stuff. I was seeing I think they call it the prisoners, like in front of them, like looking at David. There's definitely a certain dynamic there. They brought did smaller tours around the Duomo. I think we had lunch there first. Nice place there. Nice place we did in for lunch. And then we went back and saw sunset over the city from the hills. But before that, we were going through the marketplace, and some people went to a Mexican restaurant by the main famous bridge in the city. It was pretty interesting. Like, there's a reason why this is S tier. It's the core. It's basically the heart of where modern Italy comes from. Florentine Italian is the basis of modern Italian. Beautiful architecture. Heading back north, we had our next lunch stop in Bologna. Went to like another like monastery or church thing. We passed by Bologna University, is like the oldest in the world. Looks like they're like setting up for like graduation or something. That museum part there, the other thing is nice. Again, they have their own little Dean Towers of their own. And this was a Sunday, so not a lot was open, but there was a lot of streamers here. I wish I saw the videos of that. Some of the stuff I captured there. You can see a little bit in the 10 years of storytelling theme with some was there, but something a little bit more fun. And I guess since someone recognized, group recognized some old friends. I think they're more native to the area, I believe. Next stop, Abano Terme, where we had our first concert. That we had our rival day. Helvetia is like definitely more upscale. The really whole town like based on like thermal springs that fuel the pool and stuff. Definitely more of a senior community, not like community, but like a lot of older people go there, including Gigino, who we met after our concert. That was such a trip. The next day, after we went to Venice, got some more chill time to explore the more like old town part of Abano Terme. Just it's fun. But also our first concert was kind of like in like a mall complex, which is a bit of a downer. So C tier, like I could put Baltimore me in B, I would maybe put Bono to me at the very bottom of B, but keeping it top C for now. And speaking of Venice, that was the next day. Rialto Bridge, there was like a scrim over it, so you couldn't really see it. So there was like an ad there. I wish I still had a picture. Again, wish I still had the picture of that. Yeah, there's actually shops in the Rialto Bridge that I didn't know going in, and actually got a belt there in the leather shop in the Rialto Bridge. A lot of market places on the other side of that's very interesting. Might be nice to visit again just to use the train station in Venice proper, but I've been there. B tier, like worth protecting for generations to come, but yeah, not much else I really feel about saying when it comes to that. Then next up, the Garda region. Again, another lunch stop. That's where I knew Gardaland there at the time, but apparently Movieland also is because there since the 90s. And kind of skipped lunch. They're kind of like more decent region of the waterfront. Again, shot a video that's lost. I couldn't really figure out where actually on that street is in eastern side of the lake where that was, but good vibes, but I don't think it's worth ranking. And then we cross into Austria to our base in Westendorf, but first we'll jump to the next day to Rheinberg, which is actually the smallest town by its municipal boundaries in all of Austria. Putting that in B tier, didn't really get as much time to spend there, but like the main tour we did and the vibes of the town, pretty satisfactory. Because we went most of the time up in the Hintertux, and more often gonna kind of merge that since Hintertux is more of an attraction. Nice gondola system going up. Went up to the higher summit. Still have so easily can retrieve a picture of that, which is nice. And also there is video recording on the old In the Loop on air channel. Was the Sexy Disney episode of that, and then Meyerhoff and the band shell there saw that in promo before going. Definitely a nice area. There's a lot of construction going on nearby, and there might have been some issues with the rush, but overall it was a good time. C tier again, yeah, it depends. Like probably definitely feeling I would change a bunch of to B tier. I felt like a lot of stuff B tier, and definitely would feel like kind of depending on the day with the Bono Terme set trucks to A tier just because of the glacier. Then Westendorf, we had a full off day just to explore town, going up in the mountains, and also performing Alpen Rosenholm, which is pictured here. Spending 4 nights there with the vibes and having church bells ringing at dawn. Really got a good feel for it down peak alpine design. Pretty mainly for like skiing in the winter, but I'm like very underrated for its hiking in the summer. More people should cover that. Like I definitely would easily go back to Westendorf again in the summer, not just for the other attractions nearby, but definitely add it to an Austria trip. Our other excursion out there was Salzburg. Put that in A tier. Like hit all the history there. It's mainly history and like although like sound music stuff. That's very more local and not real known outside the Salzburg area because they're more familiar with their own localized version of the story. Kind of more ending on a more neutral note at the end of the day, but pretty good beauty and a lot more to explore. So it definitely would be a place to return to. I think there's also a theme park just northeast of there, so it would also be a good just have a base there, in that area on its own. I also do find funny there's a spar in Mozart's child home, and then I kind of was like Dachau. Should note that since we did go to the concentration camp, but again that's more an attraction, so I'm giving it a miss. Although definitely really good vibes since we didn't really go into like in the town surrounding Dachau specifically. That's kind of where I left it off. And then our next stop was Dinkelsbühl, where we had 2 nights. First night we had a concert there, and a sort of like cornered off area with like a gazebo. And then the next one we had a tour learning more about the history. And unfortunately, we were just a little too early for their Kindersock Festival. I really want to go back for that. And that's the reason why it's A tier. Just historic city. You don't really see places like that in Germany anymore because World War II. Nice architecture, and I've said this quite a few times before that Legoland Deutschland's pretty close by. Pretty good base to try and do both in the area. I think it was actually the only place we had lunch included. Dinner fell during the Euros, so there was a big match, so we had to go and have our concert right after lunch before dinner in Gunzerhausen, which is probably the closest train station, or like at least a major hub, to Dinkelsbiel. Dinkelsbiel is not on the German rail network. And then the waterfront area where around the little like don't have really like a permanent cover there in that photo. Kind of reminds me of Seven Seas Lagoon, and then the mayor gave us these kind of like receipt tickets for like free bars afterward, and then also the restaurant also gave us some free sounds like soda and sparkling beverages while we were there. I don't think that's a good representation of just the greater environment outside that area that we were basically restricted to. And then we crossed through the lower middle to Heidelberg, and mainly most of my time I spent in the castle, and then the very nice attraction there with the castle and a lot of history again, kind of left unscathed from World War II mostly. Some of it is in ruins though, and they also really use it well for other events. Again, putting it B tier, a lot of good history, maybe more regional tourism, not so much international. But again, beautiful for being more of an average, smaller city. And then we went to Koblenz and Hotel Vanabalu pictured here. That's definitely more like where like it's a residential area, and like some of the rooms are in a barn. Mine was in the main part here, and like weird mess of alleyways. But Koblenz City, the road group hosted an event at their church for our concert there. But I was like, see, church definitely a place I really want to get back to. There's a lot of like mountain setting. You definitely have the river there. Again, just some kind of weird vibes about our accommodation and not really getting the most out of it. And then, but the day of our concert, we were mainly out on a Rhine cruise. And then there was St. Gorschon where we boarded, and then we got off near Rudesheim on Rhine. And that's where we had our lunch. Again, a town with more of historic architecture, a bit of like almost more like a waterfront with like a lot of restaurants and stuff. To me, did feel like a little busy eating lunch. Some good vibes there, although kind of tarnished with how things have gone over the past 10 years. Yeah, again, this is why I felt like B tier was like too much going on. Classic, well, it's like just a good vibes type of place. It's like you'd kind of have to be in the area in order for it to make sense to go there. It's not worth going out of the way for. And then we had like a massive traffic trying to get back into Switzerland, where we ended up doing the Rhine Falls in the rain very briefly, and then ending up at our final hotel, Hotel Banana City. Both Hotel Banana City and Baltimore have actually been mentioned in Jet Lag the Game. That's kind of a fun fact. And again, I'd be very early to get back on the plane to get homeward bound, but nice little commentary. We had our final ceremony. Kind of like definitely a bit more of a business hotel, but Winterthur C tier, definitely a more corporate area. So it's like you're really only gonna only be here as a base. Probably not really worth delving more detail into, fortunately. So yeah, that is all I'd like to say for this video. So again, Instagram threads, Bluesky, History_Leisure, comment, like, subscribe, and strike the bell.